Hi guys, this is Wenzes from Below the Radar Above the System, and the last video for today is creating harmony through confrontation. We love harmony. It's very important to us because, as you have an eye, you kind of like pick up everything, and it's painful to us if we can't create an atmosphere where everybody around us feels good. So this is a natural thing that we want harmony, but you have to understand that since people are different, there's going to be tension. There's going to be people who don't understand why you do what you do, how you do it, and there will also be, from your point of view, things that you don't understand about them. And if you keep on kind of like trying to understand them and doing everything from their perspective and so on, at some point it's like it's a rubber band. And this rubber band will just go, and at some point you just can't take it, and then you'll flick it. This is also in what I said before, is that you kind of reach a point where it's so painful that you kind of like hit back. This is why we have this door slam situation so often. This is why we hear and read that INFJs can be real monsters, because they suppress all that SE, and then once they let it out, it's just really, really painful. And it's, as I said, NI is always going to be the number one thing. And it's always going to be that we want to create a balance. And it's always right. And we always going to do that without actually even thinking about it. We see somebody who's actually, let's say, you see a woman and she's a friend of yours and she just had a baby, then of course you're going to be happy for her. You're going to, you want to create an atmosphere where you want to empower her to be happy about that child. So, everything can uplift. This is what we INFJs do. But there has to be always some kind of limit, because you will never ever create a long-term harmony if you don't get into a confrontation. This is what I mean. You need to kind of always balance that out. It can't be that you're the only one who's adapting to the situation. It's not good for you. It's not good for the other person. Other people need a reference point. If you really want to help them, you have to have boundaries, and you have to tell them, no, don't go this way. I'm not taking that. Because by that, they understand who you are, what you're about. They can use that as something they can learn from. And I know we can adapt perfectly to so many situations, but that doesn't mean that we always should do that. We should learn that we have to if there's some kind of conflict, then we have to address it. We have to say it. No, I don't think that's right. I don't think you're doing this. This is right. And it's very hard in the beginning because it comes so unnatural. I had it with little different things, as in I was listening to music in my living room, and once my friends came over, I always turned my music off. I always turned my music off because I thought, okay, this is my music and they are not, it's going to affect them negatively. Or if we went to a movie and I never had a preference in what I wanted to watch. Because for me, the overall atmosphere was the most important. And of course, what I felt the most was other people's mood. So I rather wanted to watch what they wanted to watch. So, but I understood, now that I understand that this is not right, and that in the long run, it will also, your perception will change. I started doing different things. So I thought about, when we go to the movies, I thought about, okay, I don't really care about what movie I want to watch, but if I cared, what would I choose? And it's like a little preference. It's like, okay, well, I guess I'd rather watch this one. So you start doing that once, you start doing that twice, and it gets much easier. You feel it much more. You kind of you get into those feelings. When you have dominant feelers, sometimes they really go all into their feelings, and it's not healthy. As in, I just lost my not even my wallet. Let's say I lost my rubber band from my hair. This is my INFP friend. She had episodes where she was just, this is my favorite hairband, and I lost it, and it's so horrible. this is what happens with dominant feelers if they don't, balance themselves out. They feel it too deeply, and it can, on the one hand, it can be positive, but it can also be negative. And they go into that direction, and they need to be stopped. They need to kind of like be balanced out. That's why they're so good with people who are rather like us, who have like a natural flow and are rather balanced when it comes to things like this, because then they don't go that far. But in order for them to really balance that thing out, you can't go and say, oh, poor you, I'm so sorry about your hairband, let's go, I'm gonna look everywhere for that hairband. It's not helping them, it's not helping you. So once you say at that moment, okay, I'm you know what, it's just a hairband, it's just a hairband of, I don't want to, I have other things to do right now. You don't have to say it like really mean, but once you do that, you can do the exact opposite of what they're supposed to do. So they go way too deep into those feelings, and what you do is you have very superficial feelings. You don't let those feelings really settle in what you really want. But once you like really work on it, so you think about, okay, I'm gonna watch that movie, I want to watch that movie, I wanna listen to my music, and you kind of like stick through it. After a while, you really get more and more emotional, which is good for you, because then you have some kind of liveliness in you, and this is something we really need. And it's a step-by-step progress, but you can learn it in exactly by doing things like this. I also thought, who cares what, like, I don't care what kind of clothes I wear. How can people be so excited about their new shoes? I can get excited about little things now because I really allowed myself and pushed myself in that direction, knowing consciously that this is something that's good for me, So this is what I mean. And once your emotions get more important to you, once you put more emphasis on them, then you also naturally rather get into confrontations. You rather stick up for yourself, because if somebody does something and you don't like it, then you kind of feel right away, you're more aware of those feelings that this is not good for you and that you don't like it, and then you fight back. So, and by doing this, you create a perfect balance, because there are people who have confrontations all the time, and then there are people who say you need confrontation in order to have a happy life. And I was one of those people who said confrontation is the last thing I want. I never have confrontations in my relationship or whatever it was. And by me trying to avoid those confrontations, I had, in the end, tremendous confrontation. Exactly because of that. Because I never said anything, because I never cared. And then it got to a point where I really, really cared. It just like, pfft. So this is what I mean. You come from different energy fields, and you have to adjust to each other, and you do that by confrontation, by some people just need to like feel the other energy and know how far they can go so they can adapt correctly. It's not always right to give other people the fault for starting a fight because they get aggressive because you don't react. It's really hard for judgers, especially feeling judgers to or whatever kind of, actually it's with judges altogether, and to understand where you're coming from. If there's no limit, you don't tell them, okay, I don't like this, but I like this. So they don't know what you're about, they don't know how you feel about them, and so on. And it's important. I realized that. So be willing to confront people. Just every time you're in a situation where you feel like, oh, okay, I don't like what they're doing, I'm not going to say anything. Just make a conscious effort to do it. And you do it once, you do it twice, and it gets much easier. And then you kind of like, you change. You really change, and it makes you much more balanced and much happier. Because as we know, that's what we need to do. We're introverts, we're an I dominant, and having a stronger FE helps us to balance everything out. So yeah, this is it, and talk to you soon. Bye.